Hello, everyone. It is time for me to talk about semifinal 2 of the upcoming Eurovision Song Contest being held in Basel, Switzerland on May 15th, which, yeah, it's coming up, only 2 weeks away. I'm a little late on these videos. I got to get my automatic qualifiers video out, hopefully next week, the week before, and then we'll be in Eurovision. It's crazy. It's happening so fast. But yes, I've already filmed my thoughts on semifinal 1. I give my thoughts on my own favorites and least favorites, and if I was, the only popular vote to send things through, what I would choose and what I would leave in the semis. And I did a predictions, for that as well. And I will be doing the same for semifinal 2. We've got 16 songs in semifinal 2. Semifinal 2 is usually the bigger one than semifinal 1. And I got to be honest, this is the one that has me the most nervous. This is a mega competitive semi, and I know for a fact that I am going to be absolutely gutted for at least one non-qualifier on the night. I'm just feeling it in my bones. Looking at it, it's a little maddening, honestly. I'm a little pissed that a lot of these entries are grouped together and we couldn't have put them, in semi 1. It's got me very worried. It's got me very worried. I feel like a country like Latvia, for example, would be almost a shoo-in to qualify if it was in semi 1, but in semi 2, ooh, I'm really scared. So we also have our running order, and of course that also plays a huge factor into the chances. Remember, we are televote only for these semis. We don't have juries anymore, which is something I don't fully agree with. I mean, I kind of see why it was done, but it makes me very nervous. So we open the night. I'm just going to go over the running order a little bit, some thoughts. We open with Australia. Again, we want to open big, silly, fun, something to kind of grab the attention. And Australia's entry, definitely going to do that. And then we close with Finland. We are opening with 2 of the naughtiest songs in this edition of Eurovision, and almost the most naughty songs I think we've had in quite some time. And of course, if you've seen my ranking video where I put out a month ago all of the songs ranked, you'll know that I have Finland, very high up. And Australia, not so much. We'll get more into that, but I do think Finland is a great choice for a closer, even though Finland is already going to qualify. It just gives it that extra boost. Now, for the death slot at point number 2, we have Montenegro, and I feel bad for that country because they just returned after being gone for a couple years. They last participated in 2022. And took 2 years off. They keep kind of coming and going. That seems to be Montenegro's thing ever since they debuted in 2007 at the contest. They go a couple years and then they take a few years off and then they come back. And I'm hoping that we see that pattern with other countries that have taken a break right now, like Bulgaria and North Macedonia. But I'm happy Montenegro is back, but I'm afraid they're not in a good position. With their song, unfortunately, being not the strongest, and their running order. Second to last is also someone who's in big trouble, which is Serbia. So the Balkans, the poor Balkans, they're going to be in difficult spots. But yeah, we'll get into it. Now, of course, we do have 3 performances of the automatic qualifiers. I'm not going to talk about those in this video. I will talk about all 6 of the AQs in my separate AQ video, which should go up next week. I just think that there's a different conversation to be had. It's not really relevant to the semis to have about them. Although if you know my channel, you'll know that I do not believe in automatic qualifications, especially for the big 5. Maybe for the winner. I actually also believe that sometimes maybe for like a returning country, like when Luxembourg came back in last year after being gone for so long, I almost feel like maybe they could have deserved an automatic qualification for that. That's a bit iffy, though. I mean, especially for countries that are off and on, like Montenegro, they could start abusing that rule. And it might need to be like, you need to be gone for like at least 5 years to get that slot. Or maybe even 10. Because Montenegro would qualify for that quite often because they keep coming and going. But no, we'll see if Luxembourg makes it this time. They did last year. So without more further ado, let me go through all 16 songs in order of my preference. So basically, as we are now, without seeing any of the rehearsals, and some of them having still not really seen many live performances, where do I stand on the 10 songs I want to qualify, the 6 I want to leave. And I'm going to go through them by most excited and most, like, wanting in the final to least excited, least wanting in the final. And then at the end, I'll go through my predictions, which will be a completely different list, where I have to take my own biases out of it and just be like mathematical here. So what is my favorite of the bunch here? What is the one that I want to qualify the most? I would definitely go with Austria. I think that Austria is a surefire qualifier, and I think that it is going to, no matter where it is in the running order, it's going to stand out. It is a jury bait, completely full package kind of thing that could still do well with the jury, with the televote, but it could be a Nemo situation. I had it at the top of my initial ranking of all of the entries, and it's tough because, to be honest with you, there aren't so many clear, like, this is my absolute favorite entries this year. There's songs I like for different reasons, and at the end of the day, I put it at the top because I just was the most impressed by it, like from a musicianship standpoint. I want to award a song that is probably going to be like the hardest to sing on stage, but also will hopefully be entertaining. This song has everything. It has incredible operatic classical vocals, great lyricism, great melody, but also a dance break, interesting concepts for staging that are demonstrated in the music video. JJ, I just think, is going to be a tour de force, similar to how like Guillaume's Tears was, where you take a really emotive power ballad and just explode with it, and also have staging that you interact with in a way that's very, like, cerebral, but also very explosive. It just has this magnetism that I think is going to be inescapable. Maybe the song isn't something I listen to terribly often in the overall playlist. I feel like it's definitely one of those songs where I respect it so much, but maybe I'm not listening to it as much as some of the other bops. So maybe it's not my most replayed song this year, but I just think that Austria has the whole package. I don't know what else to say. He is a classically trained, very young Viennese opera singer. His vocals are like unlike anything we've heard from like a male singer in at least recent history on Europe. I mean, I'm saying it. I don't know if some people might disagree. It might not be your taste, it might not be your taste of singing. But I just am absolutely floored by it. And I know, like, older generations will gravitate towards it, as well as younger. It just has broad appeal. And so I'm looking at Wasted Love as just a full package, but is it enough to win? That's going to be the ultimate, we looked at the betting odds and we've got Austria and Sweden at the top, but Sweden is still beating it out, I believe. I haven't checked as of filming this video, but I believe Sweden is still number one in the odds with Austria behind. If you watch my semifinal 1 video, you'll know how I feel about Sweden, and it's tough to say. I still do think the betting odds, as much as sometimes I really don't want to go off of them, the betting odds tend to be correct, at least in predicting the top 2, and one of those being the winner. Maybe they got the one wrong, but the one that wins is in second place, and vice versa. I feel like it's going to be Austria or Sweden, but who knows? It's a little more open, but I do feel like at the end of the day, Austria is something that I'm kind of like a little bit more, I don't know, proud of, as someone who's like showing Eurovision to people and being like, I have some musically inclined friends who are kind of like, what Sweden is giving us is very camp and silly. I feel the televote will run away with it, and then the jury will run away with Wasted Love, and then hopefully there's just enough televote for JJ to get over the finish line. But we'll see. The juries could also go hard for Kai as well. I wanted to add this. I definitely am getting Wes Anderson vibes from the Swedish entry. I wanted to add that. I thought of that the other day. I was like, it is such a Wes Anderson kind of tableau in the way they're dressed, and then the kind of tongue-in-cheekness of what they're doing, and then the staging and the choreography. Anywho, if Wes Anderson made a Eurovision song. So that's how I feel about it. I'm rooting for JJ. It's, becoming maybe not my absolute favorite of this competition now, but it's the one I respect the most. So at number two, I actually did a last minute switch here. If I'm going by what I want in the final the most, there is an entry here that I want more than my original second place, which I swapped for third, and that is Latvia. Latvia Tautumaitas with their song Burman Lemai. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Again, forgive me. This was one of the first songs that I actually heard for this contest this year when I was slowly going through the national selections and like finally gathering together all of the songs. I was a little late on some of them. And it was just like, oh, this is the vibes I want to start on. This is like 100% my cup of tea. Fairy core, woodsy, ethnic, Latvian, Baltic, pagan feeling, female vocals, female harmonies that are just to die for, esoteric, whimsical, fair, like I said, fairy core. And I mean fairy with an FAE more so than like the FAI. But it's both. It's Disney and it's also like, druidic, Baltic, pagan. I really root for songs that are so unconventional, that are not just, four on the floor dance beat songs at Eurovision that the gays will eat up. I'm really worried because this is a televote only semi that this song is going to not be able to cut it with the general public. I don't think it's going to come like 16th, but I could see it being 11th or 12th. I think 12th is probably unless they really flop with the vocals and the staging, which, I really have faith in them. They seem like incredible vocalists. I feel like they're still going to get at least 12th, but they're definitely in the top 12, just not 100% sure about that top 10. And it really pains me because we're going to talk about some other entries, especially when I get to my predictions. The spots that I think are going to go, to other countries that Latvia deserves, it's going to really piss me off. I know it's going to piss a lot of Euro fans off. Yeah, we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation about one of the competitors in this semi later on. So, look, it's just so important, it's so important for Eurovision to have songs like this, and I just really am rooting for it. It's a chanting song. It's a kind of Latvian folk chant that is distinct to that kind of region, where they sort of vocalize in this repetitive round, and they all kind of echo each other. It's very fast. It's very rhythmical. There's often like an a cappella aspect to it. This one is not a cappella. It's got a lot of world instrumental. It's been described as pure moods by some, and I would say that's, definitely the new age genre is kind of in conversation with it. It means bring me happiness. And the lyrics are very repetitive. And it is basically an incantation to the earth, to, a higher power. In the video, they're out in the woods and kind of making their offerings to the fairy spirits, the forest sprites, the woods, the trees, to bring good fortune. And there's nothing more, I think, inspiring for me to incant myself as someone singing along than a song that ties together my favorite aspects of sonic storytelling, which is like woodsy, atmospheric new age production, world production with ethereal feminine vocals. So this is just right up my alley, and I am just absolutely rooting for them. I am so worried about their chances here. I've heard some people call this a shock qualifier. No, this is a shock non-qualifier. I'm sorry, this is a shock non-qualifier. I don't want to live in a world where we're expecting this to fail. Let's please not put that into the universe. But I can't, be too confident. I would think for me, it would definitely be a very heartbreaking non-qualifier. It's happened before. Pali Shi, which I didn't love as much, but is definitely cut from a similar cloth by Tulia back in 2019, did not make it into the grand final. And I was very upset about that, but I believe it was just on the cusp. I believe it was 11th place. So I'm worried that it's going to just go over the same way. But then, we had My Sister's Crown, 2 years ago. Similar kind of oral vibes, sonic vibes, although it is in English. Maybe it was a little bit more universal for people. That went through very strongly and actually had a good result for Czechia. It's hard. It's one of my favorite Czech entries. It's just hard to know with these sort of kind of ethereal left field folk stuff. Iceland did really well in 2022, I believe it was, with the trio. It's so hard to know. It's so hard to know. It's a really competitive semi. So at number three, this was what I originally had at number two, but I ultimately bumped it down because I know that this song is qualifying, and so I don't need it as much as I need Latvia. I have Finland. Erika Vikman, Ik komme, I come. This is a very naughty song. One of two very naughty songs. Actually, technically three. We're going to talk about that are all in this semi. And you know what? I wouldn't necessarily call it my cup of tea, in terms of going so explicit with the metaphor. Again, if I'm showing Eurovision to my parents, I want them to not roll their eyes and kind of groan and be like, oh, like, I feel uncomfortable when I'm watching. I mean, remember Akil Loro from a few years ago? But that was a little bit, I think, disguised in like, I don't want to say like a accessible rock song, but I felt like it was tamed by the musicality of it. This song is explicit, like very bombastic pop that is going to make it so in your face what she's saying and what she's doing. It's such a provocative song. And the fact that, it has German lyrics, I find very interesting. Erika is a Finnish artist. I don't believe she has, ties to Germany. So I don't know why she decided to not, give it a Finnish title and instead German. But it has Finnish lyrics everywhere else except for I'm Coming. So it's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's Swedish German pop, and it's hard hitting kind of. It has a tempo acceleration that I think people won't see coming and will really get people off their seats. It's a little exhilarating. There's some airtime to this one. It's a good way of putting it. And I know that, that microphone, I don't know if she's going to be allowed to use that big microphone on stage, particularly saddling up on top of it. I don't know what the EBU is going to allow with this, but we know we're going to get some, sexy staging and innuendo staging. I mean, it's going to be as risque as they'll allow, but I mean, we've seen some risque stuff. I mean, remember Akil Laro a few years ago. So this is qualifying. I mean, again, I had it at one point as my favorite song of the year. And then when JJ came out, it was like, oh, I think Austria is just a little bit more, digestible for everyone. It's a good representative. Although I do worry that it sounds a little too similar to Nemo, and we just had these two kind of songs back to back. But then it's a tricky situation because both Sweden and Austria have won in the last technically 10 years. I mean, Austria was 10 years ago. Finland has not won since 2006. I would really, really love to see Finland finally take it after they came so close 2 years ago. So honestly, I would kind of like Finland to win out of these three entries just for like having a different host, Helsinki or something, would be kind of nice and refreshing after 15 or more years. I really don't like the idea of Sweden hosting it again. Fourth time this century alone, only 25 years in. Don't love that stat. I feel like, we need a little bit more time before we go back to Sweden. So that's why I think Austria would be a good fit, but we'll see. There still is a chance for Finland, but it's a little below in some of the betting odds. I believe we have a couple countries like France and stuff ahead of it, which I don't know if I agree with entirely. I think Finland is like third. I think Finland is the third most likely to win. So those three like knockouts, but unfortunately only two I think are surefire qualifiers. But what is my fourth favorite? And another one that I'm worried about qualifying, but I definitely want to put through next. That's going to go to the other Baltic, Lithuania. In semifinal one, I talk about how Estonia is sort of like the Baltic that's decided to just be a complete class clown this year, whereas the other two Baltics are just really dialed in and delivering super top-notch quality. And I am very disappointed in Estonia for that. But I'm so glad that Latvia and Lithuania are, rising above it. This is Tavo Akis by Catharsis, which means your eyes in Lithuanian. Is an alternative rock song that, might not always be like my cup of tea sonically. It's got that, sort of bring me the horizon, Paramore kind of energy that hits for me sometimes and doesn't always. But there's just something about the haunted quality, maybe also the staging around him, the look in his eyes as he's looking into the camera, and he just looks so haunted and a little bit dead inside. But I think it fits for this is not a song where you want to be charismatic on stage. This is a purely haunting, emotional plea. Empty words only fuel the fire. The houses are burning. They start to collapse. From her eyes, the greatest downpour. The foundations of everything have already begun to rot. Only protect her. Your eyes see only pain. A feeling meant for my eyes only in the chorus. In the bridge, don't be scared, I cry in your dreams. Don't be scared, I cry in your dreams. I only cry in your dreams. I internalize this as, someone going through depression and internally falling apart. Your eyes see only pain where other people don't. You're looking at things through the opposite of rose-colored lenses. And I maybe I'm the only one who maybe can see it with you. I see how the world is falling apart around you and I want to help you, but also just kind of acknowledge it. I feel like this is one of those songs where we're not trying to heal our pain. We're just expressing it. We're just getting it out with some gnarly guitars. But it's so melancholic. I definitely, towards the end when he starts wailing, it loses me a little bit sonically. But by that point, I'm still sold. I'm still sold on the whole package. It's a really, really well composed alternative rock song that I've seen people say would do amazing in alternative circles and festivals and things. Maybe it's just not cut for the right cloth for Eurovision. I worry about Malta coming right after it in the running order. I don't know if that's gonna eat it up a little bit. Its placement in the running order could be worse, but it's in the middle. It's not. It could get lost. So I want Tavo to go through. We'll get to my predictions. Do I think Latvia or Lithuania are more likely? I'll talk about that. It's kind of tricky for me to say. But next I have Greece. Greece is the other entry that's serving in this bunch, ethnic flair alongside Latvia and Lithuania, and that's something I always want. Again, if you know me. Asteromata by Claudia, which roughly translates to starry-eyed girl. My star, my sweet mom, don't you cry, even if they put black clothes on you. My faded body is not defeated by the flames, the swallows of fire, even if they cross the seas, they never forget the soil of their roots. My little starry-eyed girl, turn so I can kiss you, so I can extinguish my lips in your holy tears. My little starry-eyed girl, turn to me so I can catch you and rest my forgotten wings. This song is dedicated to refugees, particularly in Greece, but all over, singing about their connection to their homeland, something that they'll always carry with them, even in their new displaced location. And the song is the perspective of a mother to her child who's missing, hoping to, reunite with them or hoping they're doing better in their new world. Maybe they were the ones who fled and the mother stayed behind and they're just hoping that their child is in a better place, or sadly they had to be separated, which does happen too often. It's heartbreaking. There's just a very grounded, emotional presence to Claudia and the presentation of this song. It's very elegant. Her vocals are going to be, I am sure, phenomenal. And it's actually one that, some people I've said say that the staging, for Ethnikos Telikos was too simple with just the women holding the fabric around her. But I felt like it's almost fitting for a song to just be like, still in that moment and emotion because it's such an expansive melody around her. There'll be probably a lot of projection around her that will tell the story maybe slightly less literally or maybe literally, showing images of refugees and women holding children. And so I'm not worried. I like this sort of having the elegant fabric kind of as a statement on the stage, like women holding it together. And so I also think, her wearing glasses on stage is such a serve. We don't see that almost ever. So to have a female artist not be afraid to just wear glasses on stage, I'm not entirely sure if, she may decide to go contacts for the actual night. But on the Greek show, I was impressed to see that, and I'd kind of love for her to keep it. And so I'm just really rooting for this one. I think a lot of people are. I think it's probably safe, but again, this is a very competitive semi, and I'm worried that some of these more ethnic kind of mid-tempo kind of songs are going to drown each other out. And one of them's definitely going through. Like, we're not going to lose Latvia, Greece, and Lithuania. I'm almost certain at least one of those is going through, but I'm worried about all three of them, or maybe we just get two. It's tough. It's tough. I obviously have shown my preference. I actually still kind of almost want Latvia and Lithuania more, but it's hard for me to say because I also want Greece in there as well. So then we get to more of the bops. I mean, we had Finland in there as well, but the rest of my kind of desires are a little bit more of the up-tempo stuff I feel a little more confident is going to go through. Denmark. Denmark has not qualified since 2019. So Denmark's coming off of like one of the longest, NQ qualifying streaks. I believe Ireland was sort of also kind of getting up there, but then Ireland finally made it back last year. So I think this needs to be the year Denmark makes it back in. I definitely think that they have a great shot at it. This song for me is comparable to Anya's Where I Am from 2017, which is one of my favorite songs of that contest, which did qualify. I mean, it didn't place that well. It came in 20th, but it still made it in. And I would kind of hope that if Sissal with Hallucination makes it in, she might not be on the left side of the scoreboard, but hopefully we can get her in at all. Just so Denmark can be a part of the party again. Because, they've had some good entries. I mean, I don't know if they've had really the last 4 years. I'm not entirely sure if any of those shows were like screaming they need to go through. But, I miss Denmark being in the final. I will say, though, Sissal has agreed that she's going to completely change the staging, the choreography, the outfit, the styling. Let's get that hair blowing at her, not from behind, so that it's not like all in her face. Because this is a competent, like power ballad pop song, dance song that can just really showcase her incredible vocals. And if she has a strong night, I think it'll take her over the edge. But this is another one where I'm getting like 11th or 12th place vibes. I'm really concerned about this one because, it could be just there, but just not. I don't think it's going to come 16th. I'm a little more worried about Lithuania going like towards the bottom. I don't think it'll be at the bottom, but I'm a little more worried about a Lithuania in that territory. But I'm still like unsure. It's so competitive. And then we have Malta. Malta was originally going to be called Kant, which is the Maltese word for sing. Which then, unfortunately, due to the way it was, alluded to in the lyrics of the song, serving Kant, it sounded a little too similar to serving beep. And so Eurovision made her change it to either have a new word or she decided to just eliminate it. And now the song is just called Serving. And very cleverly, she has it so that the audience can shout it. And I don't think she gets in trouble for that. She's leaving it for us to fill in the word. So it's kind of like Eurovision Mad Libs. What do you want to serve today? Well, we know what everyone's going to want. Because Mariana Conte, okay, like looking at the styling, looking at the choreography and the music videos and the presentation, she's going for a certain, certain power girl boss energy that is going to be sexy. It's going to be, infectious. It's going to, appease the TikTok crowd. I got to be honest with you. I don't think the song, it's very It's very medium for me in terms of, sexy Eurodance girl bops. It sounds like something Zara Larsson would have sung. I even think it's a little beneath like Tovolo or something. Like it's just a little generic in terms of, electronic pop music for a girl boss anthem. Um, I I almost wish there was a little more with the production. It will do. I mean, it reminds me of songs that Cyprus have sent in the past that have done pretty well. El Diablo, obviously Fuego, Replay. It's gonna do like those songs did, and it's gonna qualify. I'm almost certain. I hope that she's on the bouncy ball, on stage. I really hope so. I'm not sure if she will because getting that out there might be a little tricky. But having her and the dancers on the bouncy ball would be pretty cool. All right, so the next three entries I have qualifying, I'm actually not as like, okay, I need these or don't, but these are the ones I would pick out of the remaining group. Czechia. Czechia's entry, Kiss Kiss Goodbye by Adonis. It's not Adonix. I've been corrected. It's Adonis. This is a very different kind of ballad because it is trying to be arcade, but then it has a dance break. And so I'm a little unsure. It's like one of those, I'm like, I don't really know what to make of this one because sonically, if I didn't have to listen to it often when I'm like making these ranking videos, I don't think I'd have an easy time remembering the melody. It doesn't, because it's still got this like cathartic chorus that you're going to want to sing along to, but it's not memorable. And there's not really a lot that's very memorable about the song to me except for the dance break. But it reminds me a little bit of Cyprus, but I do think it is stronger, and I think that there's elements that I think will showcase Adonis's vocals better. But I'm just not super over the moon about this entry. It's a heartbreak song. I do love he's another queer man. We've got a couple queer men. We've got Marco Bosnach, and we got him, and I believe JJ. So, as always, our queer men are being represented, or queer performers are being represented. There's probably more. I just don't know off the top of my head. And he's a handsome guy, but I just don't know. I don't know, but it'll qualify. I'm pretty confident it'll qualify. Luxembourg, this one I prefer so much to last year's. I think Laura Thorne has La Poupée Mon Dessous, a very elegant, a very classically French, and very classic Eurovision dance song on her hands. I think she's just absolutely gorgeous, and the styling for her on stage, I honestly am like fully on board. It's an homage to a song, I believe, from 50 years ago, to a song of that Luxembourg sent. And so I do like that there is a parallel, which roughly translates to the doll turns up the volume. If all you see in me is a perfect doll who smiles and then shuts up when you want her to, forget me, I am not your puppet. That's the way it is. Your little game is over. If you think a man like you can manipulate me, go back to your mummy. You'd better give up. Or else I'm the one who will dismantle you. Beware, I'm taking the controls. In the chorus, the doll turns up the sound. Remember your lesson. Watch out, boy. The doll turns up. I mean, it's very catchy. Kind of gives me Melanie Martinez vibes a little bit. And it might play well to the older crowd. It's just, when you think of Eurovision and the sort of the Frenchness of it a little bit, like the classic kind of Eurovision pop ballad, pop dance tune, there's just and something so classic about her hair and her styling. I just think this could do really well. I think it'll qualify, but I'm not 100% sure. But I would be okay with it qualifying. And then this is probably my most controversial qualifier. I'm putting Serbia through. Look, I don't think a lot of people want Serbia in this final, and I understand where they're coming from. But when you look at the other options that we have, this is the one I'm the most, like the one I respect the most out of all the other entries. I mean, it's tough, Montenegro, it's almost like, but I just think Montenegro is too forgettable melodically. I think that Prince's Mila, it's not reinventing anything. It is the most paint by numbers Balkan ballad you could give us, but it's so well executed, especially then it was revamped. I don't know. People are just everyone like wants to support the Balkans at Eurovision, but then then the fandom like turns against it. I think it's just because PZA, the national selection, had so many other options that people were more excited about. And so Prince winning was just sort of like, oh, really? And whenever that happens, it just completely taints everyone's perspective, whether the song is good or not. Because yeah, it's definitely not, a power, it's not a bop, but like doesn't need to be a bop. We need flavor. I believe Mila means dear, like as in dear someone. May that be my last supper. Let the eye of Cerberus drive me into the night. Let you be awakened by the scent of memories and my music of your name. Dear, you paid the price of me loving you. Dear, you brought back a life from the edge. There are many reasons for you to love one another, but I care so much to keep you. I'm getting like very much sort of like bodice ripper energy in the fact that he looks kind of like what you'd imagine like a ripped, like handsome, erotic novel beau might look like, and like singing at the window of some maiden and like in a fairy tale. He's really camping up the sort of like this sort of medieval looking prince kind of thing with the long hair. He looks a little bit like Thor. People are calling him the Serbian Aquaman because he looks pretty ripped. I mean, he looks pretty good. I'm gonna be honest. He's one of the nicer looking men we got this year. I'm actually not entirely sure. I think he's straight. Does anyone know? Because I was like not sure with the vibes I was getting. I was like, I think he's heterosexual, but not sure. Probably. But like, yeah, it's a very competent vocal though. I love that really strong tenor that he has. Like, come on, let's give male vocalists some flowers, I mean, obviously JJ is going to be, I think, really the one showcasing there, but he's almost a soprano. I mean, he's definitely, he's unusual in that regard for a male vocalist. But yeah, I don't know. I have room for it in my final, but I know a lot of people don't. So that leaves the 6 entries that I am saying no to. Well, Australia. We got to talk about Australia. I think Australia is going through. I don't need it in my final. Although, if we're going by eye candy, yeah, probably. Gojo is a delicious looking man. I'm sorry. I just got to say it. I was looking at interviews with him. He might win my Eurovision Boyfriend Award. He might just win it. He knows how to showcase his body. I'm loving him in that, tight jumpsuit with the kind of disco pants. Like he's giving kind of very 70s energy, a little bit like Bob Ross gone wild. With the hairstyle. Yeah, it's very irreverent. It's very raunchy. Sonically, this song doesn't do anything for me. I think it's like, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of like All American Rejects, like style rock and vocals meets like Fergalicious. Okay, like this is a very camp, raunchy nothing burger of a song that is purely about memeability. That is purely about shock value. About like it's similar to Estonia in that regard. But I would say that maybe this song is a little more respectable than Estonia's. In the musicality of it and perhaps its overall performance. I think he's going to rock it on stage. And he could do some vocal stuff with it. There's some room for some really interesting falsettos and some great vocal moments. So yeah, I'm seeing it go through, and out of the 6 I didn't talk about, I'm probably the most okay with it going through. Which means it's kind of hard to say this about Montenegro, but it's just not enough. This song feels underbaked. There's another song in this list where I'm going to have similar issues with it. Dobrodošli, sung by Nina Đicić. Pardon me if I'm pronouncing this wrong. A very competent, Balkan ballad. She's a great singer. I have no doubt she's going to have vocals, but it's in the death slot of spot number 2. Montenegro has historically struggled to qualify. I feel really bad. I don't want them to disappear again. I want them to keep coming back each year. I want them in 2026 and beyond. But I'm afraid I just don't see it for this one. The song translates to welcome in English, the title. Then we have Ireland. This is a strange one. It's lighthearted and bubblegum. It's got like Aqua vibes almost in a way, in that it's like kind of electropop, bubblegum, outer space kind of feeling. With the spacesuit thing and the dancing, it's almost giving, children's television. It's giving junior Eurovision a little bit. But I think the lyrics are probably what's the most head scratching. Emmy, like a party. It sounds like we're singing like a party in the sky, like Like, party. But no, it's like a party. So Laika is the name of a dog, a Soviet dog that in 1957 became the first mammal to go to space. Unfortunately, the dog died, I believe, while in space. And Laika and Emmy, who is a Norwegian singer, by the way. So I don't necessarily love when we've got people from outside of Ireland representing an Irish entry. I guess she lives in Ireland. I hope she lives in Ireland. Why didn't she go to, maybe she tried. She probably has tried for Norway several times. That's usually what happens. Why didn't you go to Melody Grand Prix? So she decided to make a song about the dog having a party in the sky. I mean, it's just so, I took a bad trip and just made a song. I wrote a song like May Muller, kind of like tongue-in-cheek, it's silly. But I just think it's going to be too weird for audiences. I've heard people echo that sentiment. We're going to be like, what are we singing about? Like, I don't fully understand. I mean, it's a little bit juvenile sounding, and I just think Ireland, oh, how we've fallen. I mean, last year, but you know what? Maybe it was just to be expected. I mean, last year Ireland just brought it, with Doomsday Blue. And this year we're back to sort of the mediocrity, I think, that we often get from Ireland at Eurovision, which is unfortunate but predictable. I don't need this in my final, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. Alrighty. Oh dear. I'm afraid it is that time, folks, and I don't want to spend too long on this because this video is going to be very long. We got to talk about Israel. I know some people are just deciding not to talk about it, similar to Azerbaijan, which is in semi one, because of a political statement they want to make. But it's a tricky situation. I am going to be fair, and I'm going to talk about my thoughts about the song, my thoughts on Israel's participation once again in 2025. If you've watched my 2024 Eurovision coverage, you know how I feel about Israel's participation last year, and I will say, I feel the same this year. I feel that I made a disclaimer when I posted my original ranking video. I did actually include Israel this time. I didn't exclude it, which I did last year. And there's a couple reasons for that. Well, there's one big reason. So Israel it's tough. I still do not believe that Israel should be participating in Eurovision until the atrocities in Gaza and the war there is fully rectified. And, similarly to how Russia has been banned from Eurovision until they stop their war and aggression in Ukraine, the EBU, was forced to make that decision. They did not make it on their own. They were forced to because too many countries were going to withdraw from the contest, that it was going to make it impossible for them to ignore. The EBU banned Russia for the, indefinite future until that war is resolved. But they have not done so for Azerbaijan or Israel, two countries that especially the last 5 years, have been, committing some very, heinous acts against their native or neighboring surrounding countries and regions and peoples. And look, I'm not going to recap the whole conflict, what's going on with Israel and Palestine, okay? It's a tragic story that is still not resolved, even though there has been development since a year ago when we held Eurovision. There was not a ceasefire, for example, even at all on the table a year ago. There has been a ceasefire, I'm using air quotes, that has come into effect in early 2025. There have been a lot more hostages released, a lot of hostages, but not all of them yet. And so that is still an ongoing issue. And unfortunately, Israel is making it harder for peace to last in that regard. Israel is militarizing Gaza even more, denying aid in certain areas. I mean, look it up. I mean, not to say that Hamas makes it easy for them. This is not supposed to be a pro-Hamas video by any extent. It's an atrocity what happened on October 7th. I want to make that very clear, but it is also deeply, hugely an atrocity what has happened since October 7th to the Palestinian people. And so both are like horrendous things we got to reckon with. And the Israeli government still does not seem to be in good faith engaging with, doing right by Palestine. I mean, again, Hamas bears some of the blame here for sure, but this conflict precedes October 7th. Okay, we all know this. Again, I don't want to give too long of a crash course in this. All of this is to set up that this year, I will say I have a little bit more sympathy and a little bit more of a hard time shutting out the Israeli entrant than I did last year, because of the fact this year the entry is by an artist named Yuval Raphael with the song A New Day Will Rise. Unlike Eden Golan last year with the song Hurricane, Yuval was actually at the Nova Music Festival in Israel on October 7th. So she is a survivor of the Hamas attacks. And I got to be honest with you, you got to, at a certain point, you got to touch grass and you got to just reckon with like how terrifying that experience would be for someone to go through and to see people that maybe she even knew or had seen earlier in the day, disappeared. I mean, it's just, I have to take that into account. I have to take into account her experience that she is bringing to the contest and why this song was written. I think that because it comes from such a personal place for her, I just have a little bit of a harder time completely discounting the song. And I think we all need to feel that way a little bit. Like, we all need to be a little kinder. I hate to say it because I know we've got a lot of strong opinions, but, to Yuval herself, like, this is a very difficult situation. The song is a memorial to all of those lives that were taken or lost. A new day will rise, life will go on, everyone cries, don't cry alone, darkness will fade, all the pain will go away, but we will stay, even if you say goodbye. The song has English lyrics, then it translates into French, and then it has Hebrew. I would expect, an Israeli entrant, particularly one about this, subject matter, to have Hebrew lyrics. It's a safe emotional ballad. It's not groundbreaking for me sonically. Again, I'm trying to be objective here, okay? I'm trying to take out the political connotations of the country that's sending this song and just evaluate it for what it is. I do think it is perhaps sonically a step up from Hurricane. But I also have to keep in mind, am I also taking out biases? I'm being a little more sympathetic to Yuval because of what she went through. I don't know. I think they're both still songs that don't, even without the political connotation, if Israel was not the country sending this song, maybe I'd give it at best 10th spot in my qualifying run. Maybe I would just edge out Serbia or something, because is it that much better of a ballad than what Serbia is sonically? Not really. But I'm afraid I have to bring in politics, because Eurovision, whether they like it or not, is about politics. It is a propaganda tool for governments and for state media, particularly from certain countries. And although I do feel that perhaps this entry might strike a chord as being something we're a little more sympathetic to, you can't look past the fact that what I still think is the biggest issue, which is that I don't like that the EBU are hypocrites. I don't like that they banned Russia and they won't ban Israel and Azerbaijan. That's point blank. They banned Belarus for which actually they should be, the ban on Belarus was for 3 years, over 4 years ago. Belarus should technically be coming back as well, But they've decided since the war in Ukraine to also ban Belarus because, Belarus and Russia are very much linked geopolitically. But I would argue that, if the EBU truly wants to be non-political, that they should allow Russia and Belarus to participate. There should still be rules about, Belarus obviously was sending a song that was to propaganda. Russia was a little smarter about that when they would send their songs. But, last year, Israel got into a lot of hot water about politicizing their entry. And this entry is vaguer. This entry, if you didn't know the context, you would just think it's about losing someone. Like, it's a very kind of like generalized kind of cornucopia of emotion. It's very generic in its lyricism. So they don't have to worry about like the drama last year that I think also possibly led Israel to be deserving of disqualification just temporarily for that reason alone, because they've done it to other countries without a second thought. But Israel was given multiple chances to fix their song. Some people, I would argue that Belarus also was given time, but that they didn't submit it in time. It was like partly like Minsk was just not bothering to fix it. But I do feel like there's slightly a double standard. And I think, unfortunately, a big reason for that is Moroccan Oil, which is the sponsor of this contest. It has been for at least 5 years now, is an Israeli company. And the money is what talks the most. Even if last year it really almost derailed the entire contest. Let's not forget, that was a very, there was a lot of stuff going on that made it very unpleasant for everyone involved. So many, participants were, feeling threatened by, members of the Israeli delegation. I personally still stand that I don't actually think it was good for Eden's safety to be sent to Malmö and for her to even be subjected to that level of ridicule. I don't think that was smart for the Israeli broadcasters to allow that to happen. So I almost was like, this is also a problem for Eden. And I worry about Yuval going through this as well. Maybe it's like slightly less on people's like, I feel like a year ago, it's still a big issue for so many people, but maybe it won't be quite as pervasive and like, in the air as it was, because unfortunately, just like how the Ukraine war was so palpable in the 2022 contest, which is a big reason why Ukraine won, once we get to the next year and this conflict is still going on, people don't care as much. The same happened with Armenia and Azerbaijan. Armenia luckily came back to the contest. They had to take a year off because of what Azerbaijan was doing to them. Well, Azerbaijan and Turkey. But Armenia came back, and we're just trying to ignore it. But like, let's not ignore what Azerbaijan is doing in Nagorno-Karabakh, okay? Like, let's not ignore what's going on in Artsakh. Just like we can't obviously forget that the issue in Gaza is still ongoing, and it is still a humanitarian crisis. So this is, and of course, yes, there are unfortunately still hostages that need to be returned. It's a really, Israel needs to be focusing on resolving that than focusing on Eurovision. But of course, then people would say Ukraine shouldn't participate. But, I think it's very clear that, Palestine was never represented at Eurovision. Okay. They never had, there wasn't, it's a little different. Israel is the only entrant that, then went on the offensive and decided to retaliate in a way that was just so devastating to the people there, to, other Semitic peoples that are sharing that land. And I just think that the EBU really should have found, I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised. I never expected Israel to be banned. I never did. I don't know if it ever will. Maybe if this might be the last year of Moroccan Oil's contract. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe if they get a new sponsor, things could change. Let's hope that a year from now, there might be some improvement on that issue going on in that region. This has been going on for decades. It's very hard to believe that will be the case, but one can dream. And I do want to be optimistic, and I do want to give Yuval Raphael the benefit of the doubt. This song is qualifying, okay? I hate to break it to y'all, but if this is a televote only semi, Israel is going to rally and send this song. It doesn't matter how good the song is. They are going to make sure it is in the final, just like last year. And if you want an even more sobering statistic, they have qualified almost every year in the last 10 years. The only year they did not qualify was in 2022 with Michael Ben David. Oh my God, I completely memory hold that one. And I think we all can agree that that was an atrocious song. Like, I think even Israelis were like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? So that one not going through is not really a surprise. But, they've almost always qualified. I mean, they were kind of shaky in the early 2010s, but otherwise they've done really well with their qualification streaks. So statistically, they're going to go through. And that's frustrating because they're going to take a spot of a song that I'd rather be in there, probably. But this isn't, let's move on, because I know I know this is a heated conversation. I will just end with this. Something I am very happy about is that this year Eurovision is going to be allowing Palestinian flags in the venue. They're going to be allowing a lot of flags, actually. I think they're going to be a lot looser with their flag policy. Last year it was super strict. And so this year there's going to be that allowed, which is really refreshing. And also, again, something that's going to make this very touching is there are going to be October 7th survivors. I don't think they're going to be on stage with Yuval, but they are going to be in attendance. Although I have a feeling there probably were some last year as well, but I was just looking up an article. Will not be an official part of the delegation, and their names are being protected. I can totally understand why, but they will be there. And so there will be, it's just... it's a shame. It's just really sad. It's just really sad. I hate that we have to demonize one country right now in the contest. And I, would hate this if it was any country, not just Israel. But, it's just, and this is also a problem for the Olympics. And one thing I will say is I didn't see nearly as much activism around boycotting the Olympics as I did last year with Israel's participation, as I did with Eurovision. But I think that's just because Eurovision draws on so many progressives. Like, a lot of Euro fans are very young, very online, very pro-Palestinian and progressive. And so I think that it's different with the Olympics. I think people just don't care as much. Israel's always competed in the Olympics. Well, Israel's always competed in Eurovision for a long time, for like 40 years. I mean, I've been there a long time. So, I mean, it's just, it's tough. I do see them qualifying, and that's all I can say. I think it's a nice song. It's a nice song with an emotional undertone that I'm not surprised by. I'm sure she's a wonderful vocalist. Maybe even a stronger vocalist than Eden. We shall see. I have not seen a live performance of this yet. All right, so then we've got two other songs. Believe it or not, this is not my least favorite song in this semi, okay? See, I'm being fair. I'm not putting Israel automatically at the bottom. We got to talk about Armenia. Oh, poor Armenia. A country that I so badly want to support, but girl, what are we doing, okay? Survivor by Parg. Now, Eurovision Husband Contest, Parg, you might be a runner-up. You might be a runner-up. Gojo's kind of giving you a run for your money, but I don't know. I'm liking what you're putting down. But this song, what in the Imagine Dragons is going on here? I know there is fan love for this song. I've seen like across the board reactions. It's a very polarizing entry. I think many people think it's kind of garbage, and then a lot of people are just like, oh, he's so hot, and like, I love that we're bringing rock to Eurovision, and there is an emotional bridge, which he'll hopefully sing in Armenian, and like, there is meaning to the song. I mean, it is a very important song for Armenian people, if you know what's been going on. Unfortunately, again, they've been going through, their own kind of Ukraine issue, their own sort of issue of invasion and territorial disputes with their neighbors, Turkey and Azerbaijan. But at the end of the day, I don't think that there's enough. A lot of the song is just him yelling and kind of jam into the guitars, and it's just not my kind of music. It's bro rock. It's just not gravitating towards me. Maybe I definitely think that when I see the actual performance on stage, it'll be a step up from what the Armenian national selection offered us. But it's so generic lyrically in a lot of places. It's very Imagine Dragons. And if, I don't hate every Imagine Dragons song. I think they've got some great hits, but most of their stuff is horribly written and super generic, kind of bro pop rock. And it's just not my cup of tea. But what is my absolute least favorite? Georgia. Mariam Shangeli with Freedom. This is the most nothing burger song. It has the least memorable melody, the most kind of vague and kind of like nothing lyrics. I mean, I know that it is about, again, coming from a place of political turmoil. Georgia has also been going through it. It's just so general about hope and determination, but it's kind of like Malta's entry a few years ago. It's saying a lot without saying anything specific. It's saying nothing by pretending to say a lot. I don't know. I just feel like it's such a vague song, sonically, lyrically, even vocally. I mean, I don't think Mariam is a bad vocalist from what we've heard, but I just don't think that this is going to poke through. And Georgia's never really had good luck with qualifications. I mean, it was amazing that last year they got in with Firefighter. That was a real win because they were coming off of like over half a decade, NQ streak. But I'm afraid I think they're going to return to it. I think that, Firefighter was kind of a blip. Freedom is just, it does have some Georgian lyrics. It just does not move the needle, I think, for almost anyone. I think out of all the entries that I've just talked about, I've seen the least support for this one. I've seen almost no one say anything that positive about it. So it's almost the most certain non-qualifier, I should say. So there you go. There's my what I want. Now let's quickly run through my predictions. This video is getting very long. So my predictions, Finland is obviously going through. Austria is obviously going through. These are two locks. You know what else is probably a lock? Israel. I have it all the way. Israel came in third last year. I think it's going to come in third in the semi. And potentially come in third or fourth, maybe fourth this year. I could see Israel being in the top 5 for sure. Whew, I'm afraid, folks, that's just where we are. Then I think Malta, I mean, again, I'm going with televote friendly entries here. Malta, super televote friendly. People way more galvanized by that song than I am personally. I don't know. They just really love it. Then I think Greece. I think out of the ethnic bops, I think Greece might have the most backing behind it. I'm pretty hopeful. I'm pretty certain that Greece will have enough to go through, based on how Greece has done in the past, based on the fact that I feel like Greece just has like a diaspora that roots for it. Australia, I think it's going through. It's the Estonia of semi-2, and I think it's going through. Czechia is probably going through. And then this is maybe me hope dicting a little bit, but I am going to put Denmark, Latvia, and Lithuania, the bottom 3 that qualify. I do think that Denmark has a slight better chance of qualifying over Latvia because Denmark is more accessible. And maybe the vocals might be just a smidge more standout. Latvia has a better chance than Lithuania because I think that the overall female ensemble of it is something the gays are going to want to root for. They're going to want to vote for. And maybe also just viewers at home. Whereas Lithuania's might turn some people off. It's very jaded. It's kind of like, it's a little bit experimental, maybe not quite as easy listening. And that leaves Armenia, Luxembourg, Ireland, Serbia, Georgia, and Montenegro being left out. Honestly, I think that I'm pretty correct here. The biggest kind of wild card for me is maybe Luxembourg, even though I actually have Armenia qualifying over Luxembourg, only because Armenia's done pretty well with qualifications. Luxembourg is still so new to the contest. Not sure if there's enough passion for this song. But, I could definitely see Luxembourg or Armenia going through and then unfortunately taking out Latvia or Lithuania or Denmark. And there's a possibility for Ireland, but I don't see it. I don't think Georgia and Montenegro have any chance. And I think Serbia is probably dead too. So, you know, I still think there's a decent chance that the 10 that I have are going to go through. I do think that, you know, obviously I would be okay with this if, you know, maybe I could have swapped out Luxembourg and Israel. Maybe that would have been my ideal scenario, but Israel's going through. So if I have to lose Luxembourg, I'm okay with it. If I have to lose Denmark and I keep Latvia and Lithuania, I'm going to be okay. What I really don't want to lose is Latvia. Really don't want to lose Latvia. I don't want to lose Lithuania either. I think it's a little more likely though. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you think I'm on the mark? What are your favorites from this semi? What are your least favorites? Do you agree or disagree with some of my thoughts on these songs? You know, I'm trying to be fair here, even if it's not my cup of tea. Like, there are certain things that are good about most of these entries, but, you know, there are a few that I think we all agree are just not rising above. So let me know down in the comments below. Like I said, I will be doing my automatic qualifiers video. That'll be coming out next week. And then, of course, I will recap the entire contest after the grand final. I'm not going to recap it during the week. It's just too busy for me. I can't do 3 videos in 1 week on Eurovision, particularly recapping all of that. It's just too much. I do it in one big video. That'll be coming the week after, but the grand final. But yeah, let me know what you think. Subscribe for that content coming up. And I've got another Eurovision video that I'm going to put out after the grand final in the early summer that I'm really excited about as well. So like a giant kind of ranking video I'm really excited about. So stay tuned for all of that. Thank you all so much for watching. Please, like I said, give this a like and subscribe if you are new here for that. And I will see you all in my next one. Peace, love, and light. Bye.